You own thousands of hours of things you have never watched, and tonight you are going to put on the one you have already seen 4 times. That is not laziness, it is a purchase. The story you tell yourself about it is unkind and it is wrong. You call it comfort viewing, which sounds like hiding. You call it a guilty pleasure, which is 2 words for the same apology. And underneath, there is a quiet worry that you are avoiding something, that a person in better shape would be starting the new thing instead of returning to the old one. So you feel slightly bad during the exact activity you chose to relax. That is a full evening spent, with the benefit taxed on the way in.
Russell and Levy looked directly at this. Their work on what they call volitional reconsumption was published in the Journal of Consumer Research in 2012, and they did it through phenomenological interviews. Long conversations with people about rereading books, rewatching films, and going back to the same places. That method matters for how much weight to put on it, and I will come back to that. But the thing they found is that almost nobody in those interviews was doing it out of habit or drifting into it because the remote was closest. People knew exactly what they were going back for, and they could say it out loud when asked.
They named 2 things it buys. The first they call emotional efficiency. You are not shopping for a story, you are shopping for a specific feeling, and the Rewatch is the only option on the shelf that guarantees delivery. A new film might be better. It might also be bleak, or slow, or land wrong on a Tuesday. On a night when you have nothing left to spend on a gamble, the known outcome is not the lazy choice. It is the accurate one.
The second is stranger and better.
They call it Existential Understanding. The film has not changed since you last saw it, not one frame. So anything that lands differently is you. The joke you did not get at 19 and now find quietly devastating. The parent you had no sympathy for until you became tired in exactly the same specific way. The ending you were sure was happy. Rewatching turns a fixed thing into a measuring instrument. And the thing being measured is how far you have moved since you last stood next to it. You cannot get that from a first viewing because on a first viewing, you have nothing to compare against. The new film can only tell you about itself. The old one tells you about you. So try this. Before you press play on the familiar one, say what you are there for. I want to feel competent. I want to laugh without being surprised. Then let it deliver exactly that. Naming it turns the same evening from something you fell into to something you chose. And notice what that does to the guilt. Because the guilt was never really about the film. It was about not being able to justify the time. Once you know what you came for, the time has a job, and it either did the job or it did not. That is a question you can actually answer. The honest caveat here is that this was interview work, not an experiment. It describes what rewatchers report, and it explains it well. It does not prove that naming the feeling causes the benefit. But the naming costs you 4 seconds, which is a very low price for a thing that might work. So here is today's one thing. Next time you reach for the familiar one, finish this sentence out loud before it starts. I am here for. Then watch it without apologizing for it, because you have just told yourself what the evening is for. And there is nothing left to feel bad about. If this was useful, subscribe. Mechanisms with the limits left in.